me see, can I?
Okay. So, little match girl.
I'm doing this.
It won't take long.
And Miss Nana would be loving it if she saw it.
It was late on a bitter, cold New Year's Eve. The snow was falling, and a poor little girl was wandering in the dark, cold streets, and she was bareheaded and barefoot. She had, of course, slippers on when she left home, but they were not much good, for they were so huge. They had been worn by her mother, and they fell off the poor little girl's feet when she was running across the street to avoid two carriages that were rolling by rapidly. One of the shoes could not be found at all, and the other was picked up by a boy who ran off with it, saying, "This will be a great cradle for the children of his own." So the poor little girl had to walk with her bare feet, which were red and blue from the cold. She carried a quantity of matches in her old apron and held a packet of them in her hand. Nobody had bought any during the whole long day, and nobody had given her any copper. The poor little creature was hungry and perishing with cold. She looked the picture of misery. The snowflakes fell on her long yellow hair, which curled so prettily around her face, but she paid no attention to that. The lights were shining from every window, and there was a most delicious odor of roast goose in the streets, for it was New Year's Eve. She could not forget that.
Is it New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve?
It says New Year's Eve.
Huh.
I don't know why Nana read this on Christmas,
I thought it was Christmas Eve.
for it was New Year's Eve. She found a corner where one house projected.
Oh, hi!
Merry Christmas, thank you very much.
She found a corner where one house projected a little beyond the next one, and that is where she crouched, drawing up her feet under her. She was colder than ever. She did not dare go home, for she had not sold any matches and had not earned a single penny. Her father would beat her, and besides, she was almost as cold at home as it was out here in the street. They only had the roof over them, and the wind whistled through it all. It was stuffed up big as cracks, rags, and straw. Her little hands were stiff with cold. Oh, and one little match would do some good. If only she dared. She pulled one of them out of her packet and struck it on the wall with her warm finger. Struck it to warm with her fingers. She pulled one out. Whoosh! How it sputtered and blazed! It burned with the brightest clear flame, just like a little candle. And when she held her hand around it, now the light seemed very strange to her. The little girl fancied that she was sitting in front of a big stove with polished brass feet and handles, and there was a splendid fire blazing in it, warming her so beautifully. But what happened? Just as she was stretching out her feet to warm them, the flame went out and the stove vanished. She was left sitting at the end of a burned match in her hand. She struck a new one. It burned and it blazed where the light fell upon it. It became transparent like gauze, and she could see right through into the room. The table was spread with snowy cloth and pretty china, the roast goose stuffed with apples and prunes was streaming on it. And what was even better is the goose hopped from the dish with a carving knife sticking in its back and waddled its way across the floor and came right up to the poor child, and then the match went out. There was nothing to be seen but a black wall. She lit another match, and this time she was sitting underneath a lovely Christmas tree. It was much bigger and more beautiful decorated than the one she had seen peep through the glass door at the rich merchant's house this very Christmas. Thousands of lighted candles gleamed under the branches. Many colored pictures, such as she had seen in the shop windows, looked down at her. she struck another match against the wall. And this time it was her grandmother, who appeared out of the circle of flame. She called. She saw her quite clearly and distinctly, looking so gentle and happy. "Grandmother," cried the little creature, "oh, do take me with you. I know you will vanish when the match goes out. You will vanish like the warm stove and the delicious goose in the beautiful Christmas tree." She hastily stuffed the whole. She hastily.
She hastily struck the whole bunch of matches because she did so long to keep her grandmother with her. The light of the matches made it bright as day. Grandmother had never looked so big and so beautiful. She lifted the little girl up in her arms. They soared in a halo of light and joy, far, far above the earth, where was there no more cold, no hunger, and no pain, for they were with God. In the cold morning light, the poor little girl sat there, in the corner between the houses, with rosy cheeks and a smile on her face, dead, frozen to the death on the light of the old year. New Year's Day broke on the little body, still sitting with the ends of the burnt-out matches in her hand. She must have tried to warm herself, they said. No, nobody knew what beautiful visions she had seen, nor in what halo she had entered her grandmother upon in the glories of the new year. Yeah.
That was Nana's favorite book. She had a way on holidays to just pull the guts out of you. But as she read it,